Hello friends, welcome to LeggLife, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about cruising in Alaska.
As most of you know, we do actually live in Anchorage, Alaska, and we also love cruising.
Now, to be fair, we've only cruised with Disney Cruise Line, which does come to Alaska, but this video is not specific to Disney. If you're cruising on any cruise line, the tips we're going to give you today work for anybody coming to Alaska. Honestly, even if you're just coming on a vacation, a lot of these tips will work if you're not necessarily doing a cruise.
We have 7 tips that we think will help you maximize your Alaskan cruise experience.
And you guys know a lot of these tips are the kind of tips that we tell our friends when they're coming to Alaska. These are Alaskan pro tips from people who have lived here for a long time. And not only do we live here, some of you guys might know, I actually worked in the tourism industry here in Alaska for more than a dozen years. So we absolutely love our state. And for a good part of my adult life, I kind of spent time selling our state. So these are tips that we really believe are gonna help.
So just jumping right in, tip number 1 has to do with the most unpredictable part of your Alaskan cruise vacation.
And that is always the weather. The summer tourist season here in Alaska runs from the end of April, mid-May, through basically late September. That's kind of the window for the summer tourist season and certainly for the cruise season. And in that, there is a wide range of what weather could possibly happen.
April and May are still kind of considered like late winter, early spring here, so it could still be kind of chilly. Yeah. In the April-May season. This
year is an anomaly. It's like mid-April and all of our snow is gone and it's mid-50s and trees are starting to bloom.
Super unusual.
Super unusual. So I will say that if you have an early season trip booked to Alaska, know that it could be kind of cold. But then as we get into June and early July, that tends to be the least rainy season. Some of the nicest weather. The weather's warming up in those seasons. But
the sun's up for a long time.
Sun's up for a long time. June 21st is summer solstice, which is the longest day of the year. Kind of fun. So you're definitely going to get to see some of that midnight sun type action. But then as the summer stretches on, as you get especially into August and September, it can be really rainy.
And chilly. In a lot of places, August is like the hottest month, and that is not the case here. It is definitely starting to get into the fall season, and it's just really rainy.
Yeah, so I would definitely plan on, if you're here in August and September, just know that summer is kind of on the downward slope. Again, all of this though is kind of what normally happens, right? There are Septembers where we have the most beautiful weather. And then there is May when we've gotten snow, right?
And so
and so in Alaska you never really know, and that kind of leads us into tip number 2, which has to do with what in the heck do you pack coming to Alaska, because the weather can be like so crazy.
The key to Alaska, I think, any time of year is just layers. Always wear layers because you don't know if you're going to be too cold, too hot. Like, just bring enough that you can quickly change your outfit.
Yeah, for sure. That's one of the things we say in Alaska is you never change your plans, you always change your outfit, right? And cruising is no different on an Alaskan vacation. So pack short sleeve shirts. The temperature could be in the mid 70s, upper 70s if it gets really nice. The temperature at night times could be into the 40s, right? So pack things like short sleeve shirts, and then pack long sleeve shirts, and then pack light jackets, and then pack hoodies, and then pack rain jackets, right? Because the reality is that you can combine those to stay warm enough, but you can also kind of shred those, strip down to those in order to be cool enough. So that really is the key, is pack in layers. I wouldn't say pack one winter coat and then a bunch of t-shirts. I don't think that really makes sense for Alaska.
Yeah, I think this also depends on where you're coming from, because if you live in a place where 70 degrees is like your winter temperature and that's going to be freezing for you, just know that's about as hot as it gets up here, and that you're probably going to want to dress warmer.
Yes, plan accordingly.
Tip number 3, we know that Alaskan cruises and vacations are incredibly expensive. But we would urge you to plan for excursions, to budget for excursions.
So there are some unique things about Alaskan cruises. One of those is that a lot of the places you're going to go through, and just so you guys know, we've actually never done an Alaskan cruise. We have done a number of cruises, but never one to Alaska. However, that part of the state, Southeast Alaska, the Gulf of Alaska, I've been there a lot of times, so I've seen where the ships go. You're going places that absolutely are breathtaking. Like iceberg-filled waters and mountains and glaciers and waterfalls just literally right there off of the ship. And it's cool that you get to see that, but there is a lot of Alaska that you don't get to see from the ship, right? And so some of those unique Alaskan experiences, like maybe you want to like mush a dog team on a glacier, or you want to take like a flight scene tour, or you want to like go out on a whale cruise. You can do all of that stuff just know it's going to cost extra.
We also have heard from a lot of people that Alaska is kind of like their bucket list, like once in a lifetime kind of destination. So we would just urge you to plan those extra excursions and really make your time here memorable.
Now moving on to tip number 4, you know, when we travel, we always bring multiple cameras. We have our phones, obviously, which are cameras, but we actually would encourage you for your Alaska vacation, for your Alaska cruise, invest in a good camera. Now, obviously, we all travel with phones, right? And most of us use our phones as cameras while on vacation.
And they are good cameras.
Without a doubt. But there are things that you're going to see on your Alaska vacation that you probably have never seen anywhere in the world before. We have lived here I've lived here since I was 3 years old. Sherri's lived here for how many, like 15 years now?
Yeah.
Yet still, to this day, when we like travel anywhere around Alaska, we always have good cameras with us because we never get tired of how awe-inspiring, not just like the landscape, but the animals and the wildlife and the things you see. It truly is unbelievable. And so I would encourage you, bring a good camera because there are things, you know.
With a good zoom.
With a good zoom. Bring binoculars. There are things that you're going to want to look at on shorelines. So just, you know, while the phone cameras are good these days, obviously, I would say that Alaska is one of those places that if you have a good camera, if you're interested in photography, if you really want to document this trip well, I would definitely invest in a good camera.
Tip number 5, buy local crafts whenever you can.
So obviously buying mementos and things from vacation is part of it. For us, it is as well. We always try to come home with awesome things from the places that we travel. And one thing that I really love here about Alaska is that we have so many amazing like native craftsmen. We have so many amazing kind of artists around our state. And so when you're here, make sure to buy local.
As with most port towns, there are, you know, like the little gift shops with the little tchotchkes, and that might be what you want to buy.
But if you're wanting like real Alaskan, native, like handmade crafts, make sure you're asking the place you're buying them, hey, was this made in Alaska? Was this made by a local, right? Support local artists because that is one of the ways that really fuels the local economy is when local artists, especially come to Alaska, some of the towns some of these cruise ships come into, there's more people on the ship than there are that live in the town, right? That's crazy to think of, but it's really, really true. And so if you're spending dollars in towns, make sure you're doing that to support the people who remain long after your ship has left.
Tip number 6, this is one of my favorite parts of Alaska. Try the local food.
Confession, when Sherri moved to Alaska, she was from Indiana, and you were not a seafood fan. Like, you were like steak and potatoes kind of girl, right?
Yeah, meat and potatoes.
For sure. However, you have been swayed to the delicious, delicious dark side of seafood, right?
Yes, I have.
And so I would say that while you're here, if you're not a seafood fan, give it a try. Try the salmon.
Just try, even just small bites, just try it. Try the salmon, try the halibut, try the crab.
Try reindeer sausage. Reindeer sausage is delicious. So obviously, a lot of food in Alaska is seafood driven. So if that's not your thing, that's okay, but try it. Because,
try it if you can, if you're not allergic to it.
Yep, so definitely, you know, food is one of the, we've talked about this actually even recently in our vlogs. Food is a great way to experience culture, and the same is true here in Alaska. So while you're here in our amazing state, we hope that you try some of our amazing, amazing food. We think you're gonna love it. And our final tip, number 7, this has to do with what you do after your cruise, or the fact that, to be quite honest, you guys, we just think you need to book another cruise to Alaska or another vacation here to our amazing state.
Yeah, Alaska is huge. It's actually more than twice the size of Texas. It has actually more coastline than the rest of the United States combined. It's just huge.
Yeah, and while the area of the state that you're going to see on your cruise is breathtakingly beautiful and amazing, it does represent just a small part of our state. And so there are a lot of times when you come on an Alaskan cruise, but you have to realize that you actually didn't get to see much of Alaska, right? And so I'd say that if you have a cruise that allows you time here in the state after your cruise is over, maybe you start in Vancouver or Seattle and it ends somewhere here in Alaska, if possible, take time, rent a car, like see Alaska on your own. Go places that the tour buses and the cruise lines don't, because that's where most of us live. Maybe you want to rent a car and go to the interior of Alaska. You want to see Denali, you want to see the national parks around our state, or you want to go down to Seward or Homer. You can do all of that stuff. Our state is amazing and beautiful, but it's really, really big. And so I would say maybe it involves taking another vacation up here. You're going to see part of the state on a cruise, and the next time you're going to come up here. But Alaska to us is the kind of thing that it's worth seeing the vastness of it. Because that's one of the things that we've seen with kind of the explosive growth of tourism in Alaska is a lot of times you can come up here on like a cruise ship, and then you get on a cruise ship bus and you stay at cruise ship lodges, and that's cool because you do get to see a lot of our state, but there is a lot that exists outside of that.
Yeah.
And so I always love it when I hear people who come up here on a cruise and then they do kind of their own thing for another week afterward.
Yeah.
That to me is like the best of both worlds. So if that's possible, I think that'd be amazing to do. But just know that what you saw on your cruise was a very, very small part of a very, very big state.
So as you can tell, we really love Alaska, and we would actually like to hear from you if you have any questions or comments about any Alaskan cruise or Alaska vacation. Please leave them in the comments below.
Yeah, if there's things that you would like to know that maybe we can help you with. Again, we've not cruised in Alaska. We've gone on a number of cruises. However, we're super familiar with our state, super familiar with that part of our state. I have places that I've traveled all over. So we'd love to help your Alaska vacation go as smoothly and magically as possible.
Yeah.
But I will say one thing. I really love when I go on like cruise message boards and people are saying, hey, what was your best cruise experience ever? Because so often, in fact, more often than not, people talk about Alaska.
Yeah.
Now, it does like help the fact that, like Sherri said, we love it so much. Like, it's like a pride thing here.
Yeah.
But it truly is a magical place. If you're booked on an Alaskan cruise, I can't imagine you not loving it. You're going to see things that you've only ever seen in movies and books. Like Sherri said.
Or things you haven't even seen there. It is more beautiful than any place I've ever been.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. So you guys, thank you so much as always for watching. Let us know your Alaskan cruise comments or vacations, questions down below, and we love you, and we'll see you on the next LeggLife video.